Hey kids, this activity is called unknown areas, and what you're going to do is solve for one little section of a rectangle, what the area of that is, which will then help you solve the area of the entire thing. Okay, so in this first page, so first of all, it says all dimensions are whole numbers, so don't worry about any decimals or anything like that. But it's broken into 4 parts. You got A, B, C, and D. And the one piece of information it tells you is A is a square. So up here, this little section here is a square, which it looks like a square, which is nice, but the fact that it tells it to us makes it 100% positive that it is, okay? So what we want to do is figure out what the dimensions are for our sides so that we can then solve what D would be, okay? So if we know A is a square, so I'm going to start with A because we know that it's a square. And if it's a square and it has an area of 4 square centimeters, now remember, length times width equals area. And you guys knew that, I'm sure. Okay? So length times width equals area. So if this is a square, we know squares have equal sides. What number times itself gives us 4? That's a really hard question, right? It's got to be 2. So that and this both have to be 2. Now, if I know that these are both 2, I know a couple of other things, right? I know that if I go across, if I follow this line, that means that this section right here also has to be 2 centimeters. I also know that starting up here, coming down this way, this has to be 2 centimeters as well. Now that's going to help me solve a couple of the things. B, for example, has an area of 14 square centimeters all together. Now we know its width is 2. What would its length have to be for the area to be 14 square centimeters? What times 2 equals 14? The length right here would have to be 7. That's a terrible 7. I can't live with that 7. I got to change it. Let's try one more time. Drawing with a... Okay, fine. 7. 7 times 2 is 14. Now with that information, I can come straight down here because that means, again, it means from this spot to the edge is 7 centimeters. So if I follow this straight down, that means that from this spot to the edge has to be 7 centimeters, right? So if the area of C is 28 square centimeters, what would its width have to be if we already know its length is 7? What times 7 equals 28? It's got to be 4, right? 7 times 4 is 28. Now again, I learned what this one is. Come straight across. That means that this section right here is also 4. So our first question is, what is the area of D? Well, if we have a length of 2 and a width of 4, 2 times 4, that gives us 8. And I can write out how I figured that out. All that stuff that I just did. Condense it. And then lastly, what is the area of the rectangle that contains A, B, C, and D? So the area of the entire thing. There's 2 ways I could figure this out. I'm going to put 8 in right there. One way I could do it is I could add up all the sections, 4 plus 14 plus 28 plus 8. All of it together would give you my total area. Or, because I know length times width equals area, for those who like to multiply, if this section is 2 and this section is 7, what is the entire length of my big rectangle? It'd have to be 9, right? If this is 4 and this is 2, what's the length of my entire rectangle? It'd have to be 6, right? So I could either add up all the areas on the inside, or using my area formula, I could simply take 9 times 6 and that would give me the area of the whole thing. Either way is fine by me. Do with what you want. And then how do you know? You can say it. Like you can say, I added up all the areas from the smaller rectangles, or I multiplied the length times the width. But you can just let me know right there. But that is how unknown areas is going to work. Good luck.